Hello everyone. How we doing? We did it. We've gone live. It's a Monday. We're back. Last week was funny. I was gonna go live last week. I was fine to go live, and then on Monday YouTube was being all weird and gross and broken, so I was like, well, best not go live. And on Wednesday, just the day just got away from me. I was like, I am running out of time. Because as you may or may not have seen, we had quite a lot of stuff to do last week. A lot of stuff to do last week. And we didn't get through all of it. Got through a good set of it though. You know? So, yeah. That's what we're doing. That's what happened last week. This week we should, barring any YouTube problems, we should be fine. We'll be live properly today and tomorrow. I finished this last night. The base is drying, so we might be able to finish that. We're going to do a little bit of work on that today. And we've also got 5 Heavy Intercessors to do. So, yeah. A Chaos Defiler. I also did it in a very non-annoying way, I'd like to say. I think you'll watch this video and you'll be like, oh my god, he's finally learned. Thank God. So yeah, we'll do a little bit of work on that base once that Sterling mud is just a little bit drier. But for now, Mark Watson, who's been a member for 56 months, says, good afternoon, Josh. Good afternoon to you too, Mark. Thank you very much for being a member for 56 months. Insane. Hello, Chris. Hello, DG Guy. No Skill Painter. Yamail Angmar, hello. Dominic Benitez, hello. Tattooed Zoologist. Yamil Gonzalez, hello. Dave Hill, hello. Steve, hello. To answer your question, does anyone know which Chaos God he's painting the Defiler for? Undivided. Black Legion. You've already seen. Yeah, so here it is in a little bit more detail. I've been working on these Blood Angels this afternoon. They are a mere 2 highlights away from being finished. They should technically really be 3 highlights away from being finished. But I don't want to do the Evil Sun Scarlet because I don't think I need to. So we just got to do that to the Blood Angels, and then they're done. So we'll probably do this first, and then we'll do that more of a spot highlight, really. But yeah, here is the old Defiler in all its glory. So yeah, we just got a little bit of basing to do on it, and then it's groovy. I'm just checking it to see if it's dry. It's not coming off on my thumb, but that doesn't mean that when we apply a dry brush to it that it's going to go brr. How big is the base? 160 millimeters, if I remember rightly. So yeah, should be applicable to any Chaos God. The video for this. Didn't do it in a stupid way. But yeah. So, World Eaters, eat your heart out. Thousand Suns. Death Guard. Emperor's Children. Should be all good. Based on the way that I did this. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a 160mm round base. It's a big old base. It's gorgeous. It's a gorgeous model. It's absolutely spectacular. It is near as damn it 5.5 inches tall as well, for anybody interested in that sort of thing. If you want to see it scale-wise next to a Heavy Intercessor, there you go. Boom. So, yeah. Right. I'm going to thin down some Ironbreaker. And get some silver highlights onto my Blood Angels. I have done so much metallic painting in the last week that I really don't want to do anymore. I really, really, really don't want to do anymore. But alas, the show must go on. You know, this guy, the Night Destroyer, and Thulia Gould. Who else? Did I say Iron Warriors guy? Yeah, between it's just been a lot of metallics. A lot. I'm in awe at the size of that lad. It is enormous. It's very, very big. But that's a good thing. I also think, like, it's been put on a 160mm round base because you can probably just about fit the older ones onto 160mm, so it means it doesn't invalidate your older ones, but then you probably want the new one because it just looks nicer. You sound just like Jared Harris. The similarity is uncanny. You are the second person to claim that. So, I mean, thank you. Lofty compliment. I appreciate that. I always watch your videos. Thank you for posting them. Oh, thank you for watching them. I'm glad you enjoy them. So for those of you wondering why I might be painting some Blood Angels Heavy Intercessors, well, the reason being is I'm going to a Warhammer 40,000 Grand Tournament in 2 weeks' time at Warhammer World. And I need these for a very, 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 very silly list. We're taking another iteration of my 100 Space Marines. Nonsense. Now, should you be able to take 100 Space Marines in a list? No. Could I arguably fit more? Yes. Should I? Maybe not. It's too much power. Alright. That's one down. We have 4 more to go. How are you finding the Defiler so far? It finished. It's fine. Are you planning to do a video on the new Eldari? I believe Dan is sending me Karseth. So I'll try and do a video on that, but I don't have the means to procure the other Eldari. I don't have them. Love you guys. Thank you very much, Dominic, for the £5 super chat. There you go. A few more of them, and I might be able to buy some Eldari. Love your guides. Started Tau Viola. Can I use the Sepia/Corax White method on large kits like Hammerheads and Riptides too, or will it streak? You absolutely can use it on the larger things. Of course you can. Yeah. The key to remember is that the Corax White covers it. So even if the Seraphim Sepia streaks, Corax White is going to cover any of the streakiness. So yeah, you absolutely can use that recipe on those. Alternatively, because it is a little bit of a bigger kit, you could prime it in white and then just recess shade it. I wouldn't 100% recommend doing that, because then it'll be a little bit brighter than the rest of your army. And they are very segmented, which means you can take it a panel at a time. It's not like there's like huge wide open panels on stuff like the Riptide. But yeah, definitely. But thank you very much. You don't have Grand Cathay Wave 2 box? Nope, don't have that. I will fix my membership tomorrow. You can do whatever you like, Edward. I'm just appreciative of any support anybody gives. But thank you very much. Show what you were painting, please, sir. I just did. I'm highlighting silver on Blood Angels. I'll show it in a minute. I'm doing little highlights, and because of the way my painting desk is set up, it's uncomfortable for me to do all 5 of them under the camera, because I have to do it all at full arm stretch. Which is why quite a lot of the time I have to paint like this. Because I have a teensy tiny little desk in a teensy tiny little room. Which is not conducive to good posture and accurate paintwork. One of the myriad of reasons why we need to move. So at the very least, everyone liked the stream. Why, exactly. Everyone should like the stream. Got 59 people watching. Thanks, James Preacher. That's the free way to support the channel. That is the free way. Because more people might find it then. And if more people find this channel, more people might watch the videos, and if more people watch the videos, then I might finally break into a slightly higher earning bracket in terms of ad revenue. Instead of the like £50 a day that I work for. Warcurse Minis, thank you very much for the 1 gifted Warhipster membership, you bloody legend. It's very kind of you. How's your moving going? Nothing's happened. It's not going anywhere. We went to look at some properties. I think it was last week. Was it last week, week before? And we really liked one. Put an offer in, and they said no. Do you or have you considered doing battle reports? That's another one of the myriad of reasons why we want to move. Yes, I do want to do battle reports. Can't do them here. We simply don't have the room. If only we did. I tried to do a couple in the shed. But the shed's too small for it as well. The shed is also painted an unpleasant shallow shade of yellow. So it means when you film in there, everything has this kind of sort of slightly unpleasant sort of slight, you know, urine colouring on camera. So it's not a great place to It's also got a really dodgy strip light in it that I don't know for whatever reason it is, but unless you're shooting at like 120 FPS, you see strobing. So you have to stack a bunch of extra light out there, because there is windows, but the windows don't shine, like the sun never really reaches them. So you can't get natural light really, or at least not for very long in there. So yeah, you just have to stack a lot of lights. And so once you're having to stack a lot of lights, you're in a room that small, it just becomes really, really hot. And it's an uninsulated shed in a garden, so it's incredibly noisy, and it's not a good environment for shooting in. So I gave up trying to make it work in there. And now it's just full of painted miniatures. Fake Street Spirit, thank you very much for being a member for 26 months. Your Alariel is beautiful, sir. Oh, thank you. I was really pleased with how that came out. Just Nagash is left to go. Of the big gods. There are some other big Age of Sigmar models, but of the big gods, the only one left is Nagash. Whom we shall get around to someday. For that is a model I have. Your Defiler looks good, but I am very sad as I missed the pre-order. Apparently I'll get mine in June. In June? Why in June? Where do you live, Steve? Are you UK based? You're in the UK. If I were you, mate, if they're telling you they're not going to ship one until June, I mean, hold on to the hold on to the pre-order for now. But in 2 weeks' time, head to your local games workshop at 10 o'clock in the morning. They'll for sure have some on the shelf. Little known tech. I'm sure your local gaming stores will have them as well at 10 AM. You were painting on the gash just before they announce a new one, right? Right. Which AOS armies have you been wanting to bait that you haven't gotten around to yet? That's an interesting question. Because I feel like we've baited them all. Let me go through the list. Who have we got? Blades of Corn, done it. Cities of Sigmar, done it. Daughters of Cain, done it. Disciples of Tzeentch, sort of, a little bit done it. Flesh Eater Courts, done it. Fire Slayers, not really. Gloomspite Gits, Head Knights, yeah, we've done a lot of that. Hellsmiths, we've done all of that. Ideneth, no. Caradron, we've done some of that. Lumineth, there's a lot of that to do. Maggotkin, a lot of that to do. Nighthaunt, we've done some. Ogres, I'd like to have a go at new ogres whenever that happens. Cathay as Cities of Sigmar. I feel like there is a really cool conversion to do using 2 of the Cathay Sentinels to do those gate gargants that they previewed. I feel like that's a thing that could possibly be done by somebody who is vastly more skilled than I am at such things. But honestly, Cities of Sigmar is a range that is very, very, very tough to improve upon. And I think whilst Cathay is an exceptional range as well, it's kind of like a side grade. So for me, and my kind of hobby sensibilities, I would only ever do something like a full proxy thing because I wanted to replace something because I didn't like the look of it with something else. And I love what Cities of Sigmar looks like. Especially with all the new stuff on the way. Cog balloon. Strap a balloon to the cog fort. That'll do. I've got to find some time to do the Fusiliers, man. I have this unit of Fusiliers that has been half done on my shelf. For, oh god, what would it be, 3 years now? A long old time. Ever when they first came out, they were the only Cities of Sigmar unit I never got around to finishing. Because I think we had to move on to something else. And I was like, I'm going to do these. And I just haven't done them. And I was going to do them at the same time as Callus and Toll, but again, ran out of time that time as well. It sucks. I can't wait to see your guys for the new Cities range. I've been waiting for this release for ages. Let's keep our fingers crossed the Games Workshop decides to send it to me. Because they don't always. You know? Cathay Wave 2 and Eldari Corsairs as living proof that they don't always send me these things. Are you not a big Gloomspite fan? It's not that I'm not a big fan. I don't dislike them. I just don't want to paint them. I think they've got some really cool models, but it's just like, you know, more goblins. Like, I did the Snarl pack. Not that anybody cared. You know? That's the funny thing about the Gloomspite stuff, is it's like, I feel like I haven't done very much of it, but then you actually go through what I have done, and I've done Snarlfang Riders, Snarlpack Cavalry, I've done the Chariot, the Sunstealer Wheeler, I've done the Doom Diver Catapult, and we did Trug the Troggoth King, we did the Rabble Rouser, but that's not what anyone wants to see. They want to see Boingrot Bounders. Or Mangler Squigs. Jogs is one of the best models they've made in the last few years. I agree. It's a fantastic, beautiful model. You know which model did nearly kill my love of a faction? It was the Doom Diver Catapult. Because building that thing was a waking nightmare. It does not go together well, that model, at all. And whether that was skill issue, or whether that was the kit itself, I still have not been able to determine. But like the first couple of components, I just could not force them together. I tried to build, and this is the thing, is after I tried to build that, I tried to build some of the what are they called, the Troggoths, and the kit that I had was more mold line than model. It was absolutely bloody awful for the cleanup. It's terrible. Like, it was like every single scale on their shoulder had like the thickest mold line, and you just could not, for the life of it, get those models to look good without going through with a fine-tooth comb. Because you'd be like, and there we go. I finally finished the cleanup of this model. And then you just discover that, like, for some reason, apropos of nothing, like, the nose is covered in mold lines as well. And again, I don't know if that was just a single isolated case, or whether that was, or whether that's a known thing about the Troggoths. But when a model is traumatic in any way, shape, or form, I very much get turned off to the idea of doing more of them. So it's the same thing for like King Brod. Man, I would love to paint some more Gargants, but King Brod is so detailed, and there's so many things about that King Brod model that are just all completely different colours, that it becomes quite a traumatic paint job, in that you use 85,000 different paints for it to look as good as it does on the box, and they are fantastic. Mega Gargants are amazing, but it's like, nah, I don't want to go through that again. You know? That's why you won't catch me doing like huge batches of something like Clan Rats ever again, because it was just awful. And it would be much easier for me to do it, because I would just pick one and just do that. Right? So it's just a case of just replicate several times over and over again, but just don't want to do it. That's why I'm oddly quite excited for the Spearhead something. The new Spearhead box that they previewed with Skaven and cities in it. With the Gutter Runners and the Night Runners. They are functionally the same model. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's a dual kit and there's very minor changes between them. Would not be surprised by that at all. But they're basically dressed in black and grey, and then you just like put a bit of variation in the rat fur, and there you go, your job's a good one. So I'm oddly quite excited to do that. But yeah, doing masses of clan rats isn't something I would ever do. Rock gut. Oh no. I just laid into the rock gut Troggoth. I'm sorry. Skaven is a dual kit. It says so on Warhammer Community. There you go. I mean, I've looked at that article several times, and this is how bad I am. I don't generally tend to read them very much these days, but I do just look at the pictures. But I was looking at the gutter runners and the night runners. I was like, I cannot see a difference between these. I just cannot, for the life of me, see a difference between these two kits. But surely there's something. It's probably in like the weapons or something like that. I clearly remember you said you were going to redo your clan rat video. That sounds like something I've definitely said, sure. The way you paint it. The way I paint what, Asher Vandale? Oliver, have you heard the rumour of the Last World? And if so, how do you feel about it, as I'm worried for AOS if it's true? I think it's nonsense. I think it's absolute nonsense. I can't for the life of me see Games Workshop running a game called The Old World and a game called The Last World, blowing up Age of Sigmar, getting rid of it, whilst also previewing Cities of Sigmar. In the way that they did it. I just don't see it. It's like it's like because that rumor says they don't think Stormcast Eternals work in the setting. The whole setting's built around them. That doesn't make any sense. This is also the same company that blew up Warhammer Fantasy Battle, so I wouldn't put it past them. Yes, you are correct. However, a little bit of a history thing for you. One of the many reasons that Warhammer Fantasy Battles was blown up was because individual pots of paint were outselling the model range. Not all paint, individual pots of paint. They were selling more pots of Nuln Oil than they were model kits across all of Warhammer Fantasy Battles. That is not the case with Age of Sigmar. Painting Twin Lance. I'm having a hard time with Seraphim Sepia turning out very brownish. Any tips? Stripped it out once already because wasn't happy how it turned out. You're applying too much paint. Put simply, treat it like a contrast paint. Take it very steady. Stick to the tip of your brush. Don't overload your brush. Don't whack it on there. Do it as I do it in the video. Like this. You'll get the bone out of it rather than the brown. You're applying too much paint if it's coming out real brown. And also, if you've got old Seraphim Sepia, don't use that. Get new Seraphim Sepia. And when I say new Seraphim Sepia, I mean Seraphim Sepia that is in an 18mm pot, not the 24mm pot. It's when they reformulated it. This stuff. When they reformulated the shades. Use those. Don't use the old one. But yeah, I think Age of Sigmar is it's never gonna, for some reason, it's never gonna sell the same amount of model kits as, oh, by the way, I'm applying some Skeleton Horde. It's never gonna sell the same amount of model kits as 40k. It's just not gonna do that. But it's also not being outsold by pots of paint in any way, shape or form. Age of Sigmar is a vibrant game that has a lot of fans of it. The other thing I would say as well, if we're being really real about Age of Sigmar, Age of Sigmar literally just went through an indexing. In order for all the things that I've heard about the Last World, they'd have to re-index an index game again. It's so unlikely. What I suspect has happened is the thing I think with the Last World rumors and all that kind of stuff. We are so far away from the next edition of Age of Sigmar. It's not until July next year, which means there's a very small amount of people who know what's going on with it. Now, if one of them is the leaker, that is a really big problem for Games Workshop. But I don't think it is one of them. I think what's happened is they've decided we're tired of all of these leaks. Because someone is leaking everything Age of Sigmar to a couple of people. So let's try and find out who that is. And I think what they did is they put out a couple of different versions of events to a couple of different people who they suspect, and they just waited to see which version of it appeared on the internet. And then it appeared on the internet. That's what I think happened. Warcurse Minutes, thank you very much for another gifted Warhipster membership. It was very kind of you. I will update our tracker in but a moment. Fake leak to catch the leaker. Exactly. RGW that clever? They are. They've done it in the past. And it has worked. You notice how quite a lot of 40k stuff still gets leaked, but it all gets leaked at around about the same time. Which is generally gets leaked once once independent stores, usually in the rest of the world, not in the UK, get their hands on the product. That's usually when it starts. But you notice how so much of the stuff for 40k that was announced at Adepticon, we had no idea of any of it. Well, that's very different to a couple of years ago where we would have all known about all of it. For weeks ahead of schedule. Some stuff sneaks through, but it's nowhere near as bad as it used to be for 40k. You know? Are leaks that bad of a thing? I say they are. I think leaks are a bad thing. The reason why is it kills your enjoyment of anticipation, and it kills your enjoyment of the surprise. The thing you got to remember is Games Workshop does not need help selling its models. Not really. Its models sell. They just do. They sell based off of how they look and like the name of it and this kind of thing. They don't need to... leaks don't help them. What they do is they ruin the surprise. They ruin that moment of delight where you go, whoa! That's awesome. But what they can also do, as has happened with Age of Sigmar and this rumour that it's going to be killed off in a year, it causes anxiety. It causes anxiety amongst the fan base. And in some instances, it causes massive arguments as well. So it's just kind of like fomenting division and pejorative feelings that I don't know about you guys. I just don't want to deal with those, you know? I don't want to have those in my life. That is true. What if you don't like surprises? I mean, yeah, okay, fair. Like, I love Age of Sigmar. I love it very, very much. It's my favorite of the things that Games Workshop currently does. Do I think it's going away? No. But if it did, would I be sad? Yeah, I would be devastated. And like, what do I replace it with? I don't want to replace it. I just want it. I want it to expand. I want it to keep going. I want it to be. I want it to be successful. I want other people to see how great it is. You know. New brushes. I do have new brushes. Yeah. These are ruby brushes. And they are fantastic. I've been using them quite a lot the last week or so. And they're really, really good. I recommend them. There should be a link in the description. You can go check them out if you want to. They don't deliver outside the UK. I could talk to her and see if she will be offering that soon. I suspect that that's an issue to do with customs. So we need to grow the business so that she can then afford it. Asher Van Dale, thank you very much for becoming a member. That's very, very kind of you. Puts us on 3 out of the 50. Steaming ahead, guys. Person who leaked the Last World stuff also leaked Cogforts. It's why the Honest Wargamer thinks the rumours are true. I think... So I had a... It was in the Discord. Somebody shared a really good summary of it. I'm going to see if I can find it because I think it was Pete shared it. This is the thing about the thing about leaks, right? Is I think like there's a lot of people who have a bunch of information, But there's a lot of people who also just make the same prediction over and over and over again, and eventually they're right. You know? Yeah. Okay, so this was it. A small track record of 5th edition rumours. It's 2025 and Boole tells us Khazalid holds will end the Vermin Doom. Death will, not might or anything, be in the 5th edition starter. But it's not OBR. We are left to speculate if it's FEC or something else. 2 months ago, go on stream and says 5th edition villains are vampirates. Then suddenly last week, Bull starts talking about how some of the people behind their account have been fined or fired by GW for breaking their NDAs. Nothing suspicious to see here, guys. Continue as normal. Then Bull comes back and says that now the 5th edition starter set is Chaos. Forget everything I said about Death, but it's not Skaven. It may be Slaanesh, Slaves to Darkness, whatever. And by the way, Order loses and the Skaven win. Forget everything about the Dwarfs, Death, Vampirates, anything. It's all bogus. Complete 180. Then, just after he says, I was wrong in my last rumour, actually Skaven are in the starter box again for the 2nd time in a row, this time with Beastmen. Beastmen are returning, guys, like he's throwing us a little treat after contradicting himself in less than 24 hours. And somehow these Beastmen are not related to Beasts of Chaos, despite the whole shtick of Beastmen in Warhammer being Chaos corruption. But sure, these Beastmen are totally non-Chaos aligned. Probably some centaurs and fauns from Narnia that got a visa. Anyway, and by the way, the narrative has changed yet again. Now it's the end times. Ooh, be afraid. GW are going to kill off their most profitable fantasy game and turn it into something called The Last World. And all the characters they spent years developing, all the BTs and the I'm not sure what BTs is, and the Black Library novels, and the ultimate guide to AOS that everyone just voted to put Archaon on the cover from, it's all being flushed down the drain because imagine the Cogfort is way more common knowledge at GW than the new edition's story details, so the guy knowing about that, then adding it to the fake leak seems possible. Yeah, but and also, like, I've heard the Cogfort rumour for years. I've heard about it for ages, because they appeared in novels or something. I think people are just surprised because, unlike in 40k, when they mention something, it generally starts to make its way in. Remember the Primaris spaceship? And I would just be happy if GW would keep stock of models they sell. That is a tricky one. That is always a tricky one. The interesting thing about something that Games Workshop revealed in their last annual report is you don't often hear this from a lot of businesses either. Because what a lot of other businesses, what a lot of businesses will do in those annual reports is they'll talk about their successes, and they won't really air their dirty laundry. Not dirty laundry, but they won't really air their criticisms, because it's a positive thing, right? The yearly reports, at least that's what they hope it to be. But in the recent yearly report, they said, we actually are aware that one of our problems is product forecasting, of how many we think we're going to need to... How many we think we're going to need to make, and how many we're going to... versus how many we're going to sell. And they did say that they think that they don't do a great job of that. Which I thought was really interesting. So they are aware of it, and they are working on it. Which is a good thing. I think sometimes the problem with a lot of the stuff that Games Workshop makes is it is a lot more popular than I think they sometimes give their own customer base credit for. But the other thing as well that I often say is, like, everyone thinks they only make like 6 copies of things and give them all to influencers, and then they only have 1 to sell. Which is not true. It's a separate allocation, but it's way more popular than even you guys think, you know? There's a lot of people who are not active on social media or on the internet with their Warhammer hobby. There's far more of them than there are of people who who are active. And the other thing to bear in mind is that they don't want to disappoint you, because they want to sell you more toys. That's what they want to do. Do you use any magnifying lenses when painting? No, I do not. On the other hand, Emperor's Children don't sell half as much as they expect to do. They still have big boxes of on the shelves of them. But yeah, there you go. That is the interesting balancing dynamic of running an international company and stock management. What do you base your predictions on? How many Fulgrims you're going to sell? Or how many Emperor's Children army boxes you're going to sell? What do you base that on? Do you base that on how many army boxes you sell in general? Or do you base that on historical sentiment towards wanting a certain thing? Do you base that on how many Chaos models you sold last year? How many Chaos model kits you sold last year? What do you base that on? Like, what is your metric for deciding deciding how much of a product you make? Because they don't have an accurate number of how many people have an army you know. All they have is their sales figures, so they can figure out from that how many they should make. But is that an accurate determination of how many they should make? It's a fascinating thing. It really is. There is an art and a science to it, and I don't think Games Workshop gets it right. I think they get it right sometimes, and I don't think they get it right other times. What drives people to buy certain models? Is it the model itself, or is it the way in which it plays in the game? That's different for everybody. Dominic, thank you very much for the £2 super chat. Got to go now, but enjoy the rest of your week, sir. I very much will. I hope you enjoy the rest of your week. Let's do a quick straw poll here. There's 72 people currently watching. How many of you have bought Space Marines? Type 1 in the chat if you've ever bought Space Marine. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. That's 20 people. Dominic, thank you very much for the 149 super chat as well. Super sticker, no less. Let's celebrate their third super on a live stream. You're a legend, Dominic. You're an absolute bloody legend. How many was that? Well, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11... 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Let's include me. That's 22 people. And there were 79 people there in the chat. So let's round that up to 80 people. So that is 2, 4, 6, 8. That's just under, or just over a quarter. So that's like 26%. Oh, there we got some more. 23, 24. There you go. So let's say then that at least in this customer base interaction, there are, let's say 33% of the people currently present, let's just go for that, have bought Space Marines previously. And we can see that because we've got consistent sales of 33% of our customer base buys Space Marines. So how many should we make? Well, let's not make 33. Because 33 would be silly, because that means we'll sell out, and nobody who is interested in those is going to buy them, because everybody who has already bought Space Marines will buy them out, and then we won't be able to sell any more for that. But we don't want to make a risk and go, well, hang on, there's 80 people. Let's just round it to 100. There's 100 people here. Let's make 100 of them. Because it might be that you're then sat with 67 stock because no one is actually interested in it. And you think of what was previewed today, the new Vanguard veterans. I think they're really fine. I think they're really fine. But you know, is everyone going to buy them? Maybe not. So what is the right amount to make there of the 100 people? Well, we don't want to have 200% stock left, but we also don't want to fully sell out. So why don't we make 50, which accounts for 17 more people wanting to buy into this. Let's make that, for example. Maybe you get that right, and you're still left with 3-4 of them later on throughout the week, and you've got more capacity to create more. But there's also the possibility that the new Vanguard veteran is so compelling that 80 people want it out of the 100. So how do you determine whether or not 80 people are going to want it? It's so hard. I only ask about AOS because apparently the rumours are from the 5th ed rulebook that is at print right now. I don't know what Games Workshop's print times, but I'm pretty sure they don't start printing books 16 months before they release them. I'm pretty sure they don't do that. Perhaps GW should just make enough forever rather than this FOMO. But it's not. I don't think I think the FOMO thing is. I don't think that's as prevalent as people think it is. I don't think it is. I think they make weird choices about some stuff. That for sure, 100%. There are some peculiar things, but like, how many copies do you make? 5 million? 5 million copies of what's it called? Armageddon? Is that enough? I don't think I've ever seen them present a manifesto of how many of these things they print. That would be really interesting to see, but that's got to be really secret information. But yeah, it's like I don't know how many Dominion boxes they made, for example. I have no idea. Same for like Indomitus, Leviathan. Like, how many of those did they make? That is a question. I am currently ill with a cold. I'm in a rather unhappy mood because I hate being sick. No, I completely sympathize with that. I've had the weirdest headache for the past 2 days, and I'm the same. I get in a bad mood as well. Offshore printing lead time for my company is 12 weeks. Yeah, I think it's like, I think their lead time is about 6 months. I would be shocked if Games Workshop is printing if Games Workshop had already sent 5th edition Age of Sigmar books to be printed, bearing in mind it's not coming out until July 2027. Like, that is a long lead time. That is an extremely long lead time. Trying to get my hands on a Leviathan box, but they're about 260 quid online, or just not available. Well, yeah, I mean, it's an old box now. You'd be easily able to get a Command Edition box if you're just after the models. But we are hurtling towards a new edition. But the best thing to do, if you're looking for Leviathan boxes, Lincho, is go and find, like, independent hobby stores, but like the small ones. Around by me, for example, there's a shop in Stroud called Antics, and you do find occasionally some weird thing in there. Like, sometimes you go in. Where was it? Oh, the best one, really good one was I don't know if it's still open because yeah, I'm not entirely sure, but the Hereford model shop. We went in there, and oh boy, they had some real treasures from a bygone age in the Hereford model shop. They had some of the Citadel Artificer tint set, which I immediately bought one of because I was like, I will have that. I would show it to you, but it's buried under a bunch of things. But if you look it up, the Artificer tint set, it's a really cool product that Games Workshop made, but it's a really limited run. But they had it. Like 9 years later, which is really cool. It really feels like GW is small in its corporate size to fully give support to what is essentially 4 large war games. Well, yeah, and like, here's the big question that I think we will never really truly have the answer to is how popular is Warhammer? How many war gamers are there, do you think? Like, how many people out there are buying Warhammer? Because the interesting thing, like, when you compare the nearest possible analogous industry I can think of is going to be video games, right? And video games don't have to publicize their figures. They don't have to, but some do. And way back in the day, you used to get like platinum versions of PlayStation 2 games, right? Because they'd sold more than... I don't know if they still do that. They probably don't. But if they'd sold more than 1 million copies worldwide, for example, you'd get the fancy platinum version, which often would be a bit cheaper, right? It would be like $29.99 rather than $39.99, because they massively oversold the game. And that's because you've got a lot of competing industries and a lot of competing companies that are having to shout about their success. And so what you can also do with video games is you can look up like stats, for example. You only get a small window of the stats, but you can look up how many people are concurrently playing Space Marine 2 currently on Steam. You can look that up. That is information that you are able to get your hands on. You can also see what the all-time peak was, and you can also see what the sort of the average peak is for Space Marine 2. You can see that for anything that's on Steam. I don't know about everywhere else because I'm pretty sure Xbox doesn't publicize, and neither does PlayStation, because they don't have to. But you can extrapolate a little bit of information from that. So when you see that, like, Battlefield 6 at one point had 600,000 peak concurrence or whatever it was an enormous number, and it beat Call of Duty, that means you can extrapolate from that is a considerable amount of copies of Battlefield 6 were sold, you know. Same for copies of Call of Duty, same for copies of Baldur's Gate, same for copies of, like, so you can find this data, and you can sort of get a sort of, not the full picture, but you can get like a piece of the picture. Games Workshop does not have a competitor of the same size where they have to create that space in the media to be able to say, hey, our Armageddon box, which launches our 11th edition, in comparison to Wayne's Workshop, who released their Barmageddon 11th edition box 2 months previous, you know, they've publicized that they sold 650,000 copies. Well, we sold 720,000 copies. You know, so that information is not, you can't find that you can't find that information. That's the thing. And that's where it becomes like, I think we as creators are very much guilty of this, and I'm literally doing this right now in this conversation, is we're trying to fill in the gaps around it to try and sort of justify a viewpoint or have this conversation or anything like that. Ultimately, your opinion is your opinion. But like, I would love there to be more transparency from them in terms of this data, but only because I'm fascinated by this sort of thing. I like retail science. I'm such a boring person. I really am, but I love that kind of nitty-gritty type of thing. I love to see that sort of thing. And also just kind of get a feel for, you know, how many people are out there that love Warhammer. But like, as far as I'm aware, and this is related, trust me, but as far as I'm aware, again, when you look at the industry sizes, if you look at something like video games once again, and then from social media, this is where social media there is a benefit, sort of. If you look at social media when it comes to video games, and you look at the biggest creators in that space, and also how many of them are over 1 million subscribers, which is a huge amount of subscribers, right? It is vast amount of people, like, contextually. If you look at Warhammer, as far as I'm aware, the first account that is purely dedicated to Warhammer, let me add, the first account that is purely dedicated to Warhammer to go over 1 million subscribers was 2 weeks ago, and it was Warhammer themselves. So, knowing that not everybody is active in social media, and not everybody engages with Warhammer in that way, a lot of people don't. But if you look at like sales of video games versus how many people like are subscribed to some of the biggest creators, you can start to figure out this kind of amount of it can start to figure out these kinds of numbers as to how many people are into it. What is the percentage of people that that are into Warhammer? Also think of how much there is in Warhammer, how much various different things. If I said to you, Games Workshop has made 800,000 copies of Leviathan, or sorry, Games Workshop has made 800,000 copies of Armageddon, that sounds like a lot of copies, but I don't know if that's enough. Should they make 2 million? 1 million? I don't know. I just don't know. Me and my mates play Barmageddon every week. Good game system. Yeah, right? It's very wacky. Very confusing. Hello, name is long enough to be annoying. Wait, no, I have 1.5 Leviathan boxes. I also have Indomitus unopened, but I have problems. At least 3. You have at least 3 copies, I see. Just because before 9th edition GW didn't do FOMO boxes, the edition launch box for all systems were around till the next edition, and now that's not the case. Technically, because the boxes do then come out again, this is a slightly different composition. It is an interesting one. It is an interesting one. But I would posit that if FOMO selling is something that that you believe they engage in, they've been doing it for years. Years and years and years and years and years and years, if that's the case. If you think about all of those faction versus faction boxes, which were designed to deliver you 2 new models, that's an example of it. But the best one I always think of in that regards was Path of the Phoenix. Is that what it was called? The one that had Janezar, new Howling Banshees, Drazar, and new Incubi in it. That was a box. That's a FOMO box. That didn't sell out. They made tons of that box because they were under the impression that everybody wanted plastic aspect warriors. And do you know what happened? A bunch of people who wanted plastic aspect warriors already had 30 Howling Banshees and said, I don't want to replace my Howling Banshees. I'm not going to buy this box. And so they didn't. So I remember I saw a copy of it on a shelf like last year. And that's a 7-year-old box. Sorry if I've missed in the comments already, but is there any upcoming MESBG tutorials to look forward to? There is indeed. If I finish applying Fire Dragon Bright to 5 Heavy Intercessors tonight, then tonight I will be engaging in a little light MESBG action. I will be painting some Rangers of the North, some Dunedain of the North, Halbarad, and Eladan and Elrahir. That's what I will be doing tonight, if I can apply Fire Dragon Bright to 5 Heavy Intercessors. Because that's all I need to do on them now. Well, and the basing. Okay, yes, I know. But I also need to apply some shade to this Defiler. That's the other thing I need to do. They have that data. GW makes 1k boxes of a given box. If they sell 40% of it and give 50% to our local game stores, then they know they sold 90%. Talking of an edition launch box set is not saying 1k people play the game, but it gives you an idea. No, you are correct. They do have an idea, but what they have acknowledged, and what I would think would be the biggest criticism that I could lever at them in this regard, is what they don't account for is consumer desire for brand new, shiny, cool thing. And I think one of the interesting things that you see is, I think the interesting, like, so here's something that I'll say, right? I'm going to go to Games Workshop right now. Let's have a look. Enter the Eye of Terror. Okay, so currently available for me to purchase of all the things that went on pre-order is Hastarii, Mutilators, Kravek Morn, Iron Warriors upgrades, Knight Destroyer, Eye of Terror Battalion Adeptus Mechanicus, Eye of Terror Battalion Imperial Knights, Iron Warriors Dice, Eye of Terror Reign of Iron War for the Cadian Gate, the generic book, and that's it. Of the things that went out of stock, Combat Patrol Chaos Space Marines Iron Warriors, Thulia Gould, Defiler, Eye of Terror Battalion Sons of Dawn, which is the box that had 2 Repulsor Executioners and a Redemptor and a Ballistus Dreadnought, and the special edition, the special version of the Eye of Terror Reign of Iron box book. So currently, so here's the question: did they make as many Hastarii as they did Thulia Gould based on their sales of AdMech players? Or their AdMech sales data, determining that people who will buy Thulia Gould will buy Hastarii? Or did they make more Hastarii because it's a unit? It's not. People are only going to buy one Thulia Gould, but somebody might buy. They're not. I don't think they're battle line, but let's just say for the argument that they come in units of 10. But you buy them as of 5. So the most somebody can buy of that is 2, 4, 6. So somebody could buy 6 boxes of that and 1 of Thulia Gould. So have they made that proportion? So did they make 25,000 Thulia Goulds, but then also 5, 10, 150,000 boxes of Hastarii, which therefore means they have not sold out because people haven't bought 6 boxes of Hastarii. But should they make 150,000 Thulia Goulds and 150,000 Hastarii? No. I would argue not. But they've sold out of Chaos Space Marines Iron Warriors combat patrols. So how many of them did they make versus Kravek Morns? Because Kravek Morn, presumably, goes quite handily with the Iron Warriors ones. See what I mean? This is where this is the really interesting data stuff. This is what I mean about. This is what I like. I do find it interesting. I find it really interesting. Chat, thank you very much for 62 likes on the stream. You've shot past 50. Can we get 7 more likes on the stream? Painting all that in one night. I mean, I won't get it all done in one night. I'll get it done. I could get that all done by the end of tomorrow. I know that the Rangers of the North and the Dunedain don't take that long to do. If I really concentrate, they probably take about 2 hours to do each set. So it's got to allow for the paint to dry. But it's Creed Camo, Iron Warriors, some thin down Sigor Brown, some thin down Black Templar, a relayer of Mechanicus Standard Grey, highlight of Dawnstone, highlight of Deepkin Flesh, Gilliman Flesh for the faces, Flayed One Flesh on the faces, little bit of Black Legion for the eyes, and then your Ironbreaker for the weapons, and you're done. It's like they're not very long at all. The Dunedain are even quicker because it's thin. It's a little bit of thin down Sigor Brown, for all the wood and all the leather. Bit of Reichland Flesh Shade over the top of the leather. Black Legion for the trousers. Dark Angel's Green for the coat. Wildwood and Flayed Gilliman Flesh. They are pretty quick. Again, you're just waiting for paint to dry. Most of it. Vicious Goose, thank you very much for being a member for 34 months. You absolute legend. So what I hear you saying is Return of the King and Grey Company tomorrow. I could be painting them tomorrow, yes. I think I have to... Well, I have to finish this. I'm waiting for the metallic to dry on this. Looking forward to the Kravik Morn paint video when the embargo is lifted. Kravik Morn video will be out this week. 1 year. I'm so sorry. You have nothing to apologise for. 1 year is huge. Thank you very much. I asked for 7 more likes and you guys have gone shot right past the magic number. We're on 74 likes. How about 66 members? What is simpler to paint? Khorne Berserkers, Iron Warriors, or Ultramarines? Interestingly, I still haven't put the video out, and I'm going to put the video out soon, because I think we're safe now. I think we can probably put out the 100,000 subscribers video. So the 100,000 subscribers video is a I went back to basics video, basically. I paint Ultramarines in a classic way. Entirely classic, almost as well. So, you know, that's fun. So that's a video that's on the way. Iron Warriors, in their base format, without doing the yellow and the hazard stripes, are probably easier because they are dark silver and black. Generally, right? Especially if you paint them over like Mark 6 Space Marines, right? They're dark silver and black. Ultimately, of course, they do have the hazard stripes in there, and if you do Chaos Space Marines, you are dealing with a lot of trim. Now, arguably, you could do what I did on this guy, which you'll see about very soon. You could do what I did on this guy, which does deal with the trim aspect a little bit more, but it doesn't make the hazard stripes any easier. Basically, Khorne Berserkers is very similar with that. It's got Chaos trim is the problem. Chaos trim is the thing that's gonna kill you in terms of simplicity. So who's the easiest? In the base format, it's Iron Warriors. But if you do everything that makes them what they are, Iron Warriors and World Eaters, I would probably put like this, like that. Probably like competing. And I would put Ultramarines just under a little bit simpler, because they are fundamentally just blue and gold. They're pretty easy. Dan, thank you very much for becoming a member, you legend. It's very kind of you, thank you. Hello, Travis. Do we have any guesses on when the Cog Forts and new cities going on pre-order? My guess is May. I think it's a huge amount of models. I think what Cities of Sigmar will be is it will be the last big release before 11th edition. So I would guess around about May time. Because 11th is coming in June, is what they've said in the trailer. I don't know what end of June, but hopefully at the end of June. But yeah, I'm going to guess that Cities is coming in May. Yeah. But I don't know when. What is there to come? So there's Custodians went on pre-order next weekend, don't they? Because they previewed that. So there's another round of Horus Heresy, isn't there? There's the new the Mole Men. No. There's the Solar Auxilia, that's him. That's the ones I was thinking of. With their mole launchers. I don't think they're mole launchers, but we're just going with it. So there's them. There's the other Spartan variant. So there's another round of Horus Heresy that has been previewed. There's another Kill Team box that's been previewed. Obviously, the Red Terror one. So that's something that's still left to go. Grand Cathay Wave 2 individual boxes. Really great shout. Really great shout. So there's that. There's Armageddon campaign book and releases. Yep, so that's 4 things. Spearhead. City of Ash. There's that. Underworlds. An Underworlds warband. And Riders of Rohan. As well as Wild Men of Dunland and all that. There's nothing Blood Bowl, I don't think. What else? Have I missed anything? And you Numenorians. You wish. Am I missing anything that they've previewed? Did I include cities? I don't think I did. Let's just say cities. Alright. So there you go. That's 8 weeks worth of stuff. Which, given us where we are, it's April. There is one, two, yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, so there's 8 weeks, 8 Saturdays, more or less, before June. And I bet you Leviathan has a 3 or 4 week pre-order. I bet you. I'll bet my money on that. What little I have. Let's apply some Null oil to these metallics. They should be dry now. Defiler! Null oil. Here you go. On you go. Just need to shade that silver. And then that should be, once that's dry, should be ready for a full Tyrant Skull dry brushing. Which is exciting, isn't it? I feel like I've just fully given up on applying Fire Dragon Bright to my my Blood Angels. Predictably. I'll do it after dinner, I'm sure. Well, I'll definitely do it tonight. I mean, I just need to get it done. I think I talked about this earlier, but it's for my GT list. We are running 100 Space Marines, 20 Intercessors, 20 Assault Intercessors, 10 Heavy Intercessors. I want to say 30 Tactical Marines, 10 Infernus Marines, 10 Assault Terminators with Thunderhammer and Storm Shield, Terminator Ancient, and a Terminator Captain. And we're running it currently in Bastion, but Joe keeps trying to convince me to do the new the new Imperial Fist detachment, where you get reroll 1s to hit and wound if you're touching cover, which does sound quite compelling. But the Bastion thing is the one that came out in what's its name? I think it's 500 Worlds, the one that lets battle line advance and shoot, or advance and action, and also it gives reroll 1s to hit against anything that a battle line unit has shot or targeted, something like that. I can't remember now. But that's the list we're running. Unless I change my mind and do Custodes. Which I could possibly do. Thanks to your video, I completed my Legio Custodes Shield Captain. Awesome! Did you enjoy it? Painting it, not the video. I mean, did you enjoy the video, but did you enjoy painting it? That's also mostly crucial. And Games Workshop, if you're watching. Hi, if you're watching. If you're considering releasing Cities of Sigmar, and then the weekend after doing Armageddon, please don't. Because that will kill me. 5th edition rumors, Last World coming. Excited? I am. I understand if you can't touch the subject. We before you came on, Vicious Goose, we talked about it. I think it's absolute nonsense. I'm not going to go into it again. Right. Non-oil's on. We've got 15 minutes left. Does anybody have any burning questions, desires, or conversations they wish to have? One Marine with an old hat. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Armageddon. So the Fire Dragon Bright isn't happening. The Fire Dragon Bright will happen after my dinner. But it will happen. I just don't have the 15 minutes now. Yeah. I mean, I should, I've said this earlier, I should do Evil Sons around all of these. But I don't think I need to. I think just doing a little spot highlight of the most important parts with the Fire Dragon Bright is going to be more than enough for them. Because they are just heavy intercessors at the end of the day. You know? Is every paint you use thinned down, even the contrast? No. The only paints I thin down are the only time I thin down contrast paint is when I tell you I've thinned it down in the video. So if I say it's mixed with Lamy medium or contrast medium or whatever, that's when I thin it down. Otherwise, I do not thin down contrast paint and I do not thin down shade paint. The only things I always thin down is base and layer paints, which will be your metallics and edge highlights and stuff. You do highlights, thin those down with a little bit of water. I always use a dry palette. I don't use a wet palette because wet palettes do mischievous things to your contrast paints. Loved both video and paint, but I wanted to ask you on how to better mix my Lamy medium with some colours, because with my Legio Shield Captain I had some problems since I only use a wet palette and water is a problem when mixed. Yeah. I would recommend... Where do you live, Peter? I'm not saying give me your address, but what... Do you live in a hot country? Is that why you only use a wet palette? What should I work on next? Darkwater, Tuners, Hashatites, Underworlds, Nurgle. I think you should treat yourself, Email, and do the Underworlds Nurgle. So why do I thin all your recipes? Are you saying I'm terrible at painting? Fair. No. You've explained it to me, and I don't... But you do like 14 primers as well. You have your own thing, you know? Where to get advice on painting the Defiler in other schemes like Emperor's Children? I think, honestly, like, I mean, I would wait for a bunch of people to do painting videos, naturally. But if you want to do an Emperor's Children Defiler, when my Defiler video comes out, watch that, then go and look up what the recipe I used on any of the other Emperor's Children stuff. Merge! Because there's a... So if I was to do an Emperor's Children Defiler, I would not change my recipe for Emperor's Children on it. See what I mean? The pink will be the same. The blank will be the same. Trim would be the same. Flesh would be the same. There's no change. It's just it's slightly bigger, you know. Slightly. It's quite a lot bigger. But yeah, I'm sure a bunch of people are going to release a load of videos. I haven't seen any yet, but I'm sure a bunch of people are going to. Sicily, and yeah, we got hot days. My room is a natural heater. Yeah, that's an interesting one. I saw somebody talking about the other day. If you use like it was this thing that they said what they were basically saying what they do is they take like disposable shot glasses, which I now have, and I'm tempted to try it in the summer. But what they do is they leave them in the freezer overnight, and then take them out during the day and pop them in the fridge. So they're not icy, but they start to heat up a little bit, because you don't want them to be ice because you want to freeze the paint. But if you keep the receptacle that's going to have dry mixing cold and then apply it, it'll stay wetter for longer on that, even though it's making contact with the air, if you see what I mean. So that's one way of dealing with it, is to, for example, take like a glass ramekin and leave that put that in your fridge overnight so it's chilled, and then you can use that to mix paint on if you need a dry palette, and it'll just chip off then. But if you don't want to ruin something like that, you could do it with a one of the Servo Skull palettes. I use palette paper from Games Workshop, is what I use. It's bad, but, well, it's not bad. I like it, but I am going to run out of this eventually. I'll have to find something else. But that is... I use more medium than hipster on contrast because I paint in 105 degree Fahrenheit dry weather in California. I listen to Vicious Goose more so than me. Would you happen to have one of your Tree Revenants banners bearers handy? I'm using your Sylvanus scheme and we don't ever get a clear shot of any of the banners, just to get an idea of colour placement. Oh, that's a really good question, Zangerous. Do I have one nearby? Maybe. Let me look at my phone. $2022. Was it June? June 2022. No, April. Buh. Boom. There you go, there's a picture. Is that helpful? So it's the proper red around most of it. Inside it's that pinky mixture that's used on the skin, and then the design on the front of it looks to be white, if I remember rightly. Screenshot that now if you like. Yay, look at that. That was a fun live stream. I still got those trees to do. Boom. The videos are not usually contrast except yours. Nah, that's fair. That's fair. I'm working on my Fallen Angel Chaos Armor using your Red Corsair videos. Why did you add the darker red after the Bell Red? Is the brighter red a better Horus Dark Angel colour? Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. The reason I use Flesh Terror's red after Bell Red is A, to shade the red, but also it's 2 stages of red to get it to the right tone. You could just leave Bell Red as it is, but you will have a couple of little recesses around that will need shading. So if you want to keep the tone of Bell Red as it is, just go in with a little bit of recess shading with some Agrax Earthshade just in those recesses. But the reason I go red and then red is because you want it to be that color. Because contrast paints are translucent, they're see-through. They are everything that's underneath them is represented on the final thing. So it's like filters, right? So if I put like some red in front of me, if I put like a pink in front of me now, and then put a red one in front of that, you would get a different color coming all the way through. That's why Bal Red, Flesh Terror's red. To get to the color, which is Bal Red, Flesh Terror's red. It's a darker red. Because just Flesh Terror's red on its own is a different color. Just Blood Angel's red on its own is a different color. And just Bal Red on its own is a different color. But if you do Flesh Terror's red over Bal Red, you get a different color again. If you do Flesh Terror's red over the top of Blood Angel's red, you get a different color. And if you do Blood Angel's red over the top of either of those as well, you get a different color again. It's just slightly different tones. Sometimes it's a minuscule difference, but it is enough of a distance that you notice it. What Blood Angel's unit is the easiest to paint? Finally built everything, just not sure where to start. Sanguinary Guard, Jump Death Company, Blade Guard, or Stern Guard. For my money, Sanguinary Guard is probably the easiest, because it's my favourite. It's gold. Retributor Armour, 1-to-1 Fire Slayer Flesh. Retributor Armour, 2 parts Retributor Armour to 1 part Stormhost Silver. Boom, done. They're also quite open models. They're very much like this. So you're not having to kind of get behind shields and things like that. Death Company are pretty easy, but you do have to freehand on the Solitaire these days, because they don't have the sculpted ones anymore. For now, who knows? Maybe they'll come in 11th edition. I doubt it, but maybe they will. Stern Guard, not Stern Guard and Blade Guard. Stern Guard are pretty easy. Red and black. Bit of bone. Yeah, Sanguinary Guard for my money are probably the easiest. The only slight difficulty with there is the blades. But they're pretty quick. Would you integrate any army painter in your videos in the future, or is it Citadel only? Whilst I'm doing Contrast Plus, it will be Citadel only. If I choose not to do Contrast Plus, then I will integrate other things. But yeah, depends what army painter stuff as well. Because I'm not the biggest fan of the speed paints. They're not for me. So yeah, never say never. But yeah, the idea behind a vast majority of my videos is that you are able to get it all from one place. So I try not to have it so that you open up one of my videos and then there is one paint in there that's important, but you probably don't have it. You see what I mean? So generally the paint all sticks to one single range. It's to make it easier. You know where it's all going to be from. Very occasionally we use like color forged primers because Games Workshop doesn't make, for example, Steel Legion Drab Spray. And if I need Steel Legion Drab Spray, then I'll go and get it. But like, yeah, generally we stick to one brand. It'd be far more likely that if I was to add Army Painter, it would be to do Army Painter. It would be to do Speed Paint Plus videos. but I'm unlikely to do that. I'd like to do some more Vallejo Express, though. I like those. I like the Vallejo Express stuff a lot. Just haven't had a chance to use any of it, really. Because, again, you don't want to be, like, towards the end of the Defiler video, and then I'm just like, oh, now we're going to use Hospitalia Black from Express Color. And be like, what? But I don't have that one. It's kind of the idea. Yeah. Anyway, it's 7:30. We have done silver highlights on the Blood Angels. We've done all of the basing on the Defiler, other than dry brushing it with Tyrant Skull and adding some tufts and doing the rim. So 3 things left to do on that, which I will do also this evening. But that is the end of this week's Me Time Monday. We are donezo for now. So yeah, what are we doing this week? You should get at least 2 painting videos this week, for sure. Because I've got 4 in the locker. Defiler, Kravik Morn, Thulia Gould, and the Night Destroyer. So I've got 4 painting videos on the way for you. There's a couple more painting videos that I'm working on. MESBG, Grey Company / Return of the King video. Hopefully we get that done as well. But we should be live on Wednesday. I'm not sure what we'll be doing, but we'll be doing something, I'm sure. But we should be back on Wednesday. And, yeah. Don't know if you're going to get a painting video tomorrow, or if you're going to get one on... Well, you're definitely going to get one on Thursday, but you might get one Thursday, Friday, Saturday, for example. Or maybe Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. Haven't decided yet. I shall see how the week pans out. Got a lot to do. Always a lot to do, and never enough time in the day to do it all. So, on that note, I'm going to jog off and I'm going to go to have my dinner, ladies and gentlemen. And then I'm going to get back to it. So, thank you for hanging out with me tonight. Thank you for the new memberships. Thank you very much for the super chats and the many months of membership many of you have given to your old pal Josh over here. And I will see you all in the next one. Love you, chat. You're the best around, and nothing is ever going to bring you down.